In 1263 after Christ, a disease tormented a people and their lands. They were cursed with a terrible plague and forced to flee to the forest, where they found refuge, but realized they were not alone. Sometime later, two men searched for one of their sons. One does not feel safe staying there at night, as he knows the dangers of the place. They argue until they hear a sound, but it was just a raven. Soon, Ewan finds the boy's body. Upon noticing his friend with a strange expression, the village chief approaches and finds the body of his son, mourning his loss. The friend asks them to leave, but a roar approaches them. They run carrying the body and end up abandoning it. In the village, women pray for protection. Hearing the cries for help, Vuga tells Alice to hide with the daughters. They quickly go to help the injured. The next day, the injured are assisted and have their wounds cauterized with a hot iron. On the same day, Alice goes into the woods in search of herbs. She ends up finding a nest and picks up an egg, but feels that she is being watched. When she turns around, she sees nothing. But when she looks ahead, she realizes there is a creature. Scared, she falls from the tree and begins to have dark visions, and when she wakes up, she starts to act strangely. After Vuga finishes tending to Ewan, she sees a stranger lurking around the village and decides to follow him. In the forest, Alice continues to act strangely, even killing a rabbit she finds and telling it not to cry anymore. Vuga, following the man, eventually catches up with him, and he instructs her to follow him to an unknown part of the forest, where they finally meet. He makes a sound so intense that Vuga's ears bleed. After this, she finds a cabin and decides to enter, encountering the guardian of the forest. Vuga comments that the days spent there have been peaceful and asks why he has returned. He prefers not to answer, and she tries to remind him of the past, but he states that they were just moments. Vuga asks for his help, claiming that everyone will perish, and he responds that this is necessary. She reminds him that the creature has already taken 15 of her people and mentions the oath they made. The man says that the forest gives a lot, but they have abused this kindness and now will pay. Vuga retorts that they only collect what is essential to survive and that she herself verifies this. He asserts that her eyes are blind to reality. Vuga appeals once more, and he grabs her, saying that the forest wants more, for it is hungry. She asks what they need to offer to be at peace. The shaman replies that a new sacrifice must be made to renew the oath. Vuga quickly returns to the village and warns everyone about the danger. She finds Alice and asks her to take care of her daughters. Alice goes home and asks her youngest daughter about Uriel, who responds that he has gone to the forest following her father's brother. The little girl reveals that she is scared, and her mother reassures her that everything will be fine. Meanwhile, the villagers prepare for the night. Alice warns her husband that their daughter went looking for her brother, and he quickly enters the forest. We notice Alice smiling strangely. The man searches for his daughter in the darkness and is attacked by the creatures of the forest, managing to fend them off with fire. He calls out Uriel's name and, hearing her cries, uses the fire to free her from the creatures. He lifts Uriel onto his shoulders and carries her back to the village. They arrive safely, and Vuga quickly uses a type of magic to fend off the creatures. Later, she visits the injured man and tells Rebecca that she will take care of him. When Vuga is alone with the man, she begins to insult him, telling him that he has never been of any use. The man asks her to be careful with her tongue and to clean her eyes, for he cannot see. She responds that from now on, he will only see black for the rest of his life. Vuga remembers that she will have to make a sacrifice for the forest and realizes that the man will not recover, as he has been contaminated by the plague. She decides to use him for the sacrifice and to kill him once and for all. He begs for his life, but she covers his mouth. Vuga cries, lamenting the loss, but understands that it is for a greater good. That same night, the guardian of the forest decides to visit Alice's daughter. The little girl asks him to go away, but he keeps approaching. The creature seems to enchant the girl, who soon falls silent, and he gently kisses her on the forehead before leaving. After that, the girl begins to act strangely and tries to exit through the door, but discovers it is locked. She starts to dig the ground to try to escape. The next day, Rebecca goes to visit her husband and finds him dead. Ewan suspects that Vuga caused the death, but his pale face already reveals that he might also be sick. They decide to bury him in the forest while Vuga prays for his soul, and Ewan digs the hole. We notice that Ewan is irritated by Vuga's lack of empathy, and he revolts, telling her to stop praying, even throwing dirt in her eyes. They help each other lower the body into the grave, but the body slips, and Ewan sees the appearance of his friend, black eyes and weeds growing out of his body, which makes him wrap himself up and run to vomit. Rebecca goes after Ewan to help him and realizes that he might also be infected, and hides her vomit. Uriel is at home when she feels someone approaching and asks if it is her father or Vuga, but soon realizes it is Alice, who questions the girl about her other daughter. Uriel does not want to respond. Alice starts rummaging and finds remnants of nails, and Uriel asks why her sister is gone. Alice explains that Dick Red will take all the girl's bones until she grows up and becomes a beautiful weed. Meanwhile, Ewan walks through the forest and appears to be very ill. He begins to rub himself against moss and feels temporarily relieved. But an itch on his arm reveals something worse. His blood is black, and a slime begins to ooze from the wound. He tries to move away, but his body freezes, and we notice how advanced the disease is when he removes a mushroom that had grown on his back. Meanwhile, the women still try to say their goodbyes, but cannot say anything. Vuga tries to leave the place, but soon is confronted by Rebecca, who says she should be ashamed. Vuga asks if she should seek her forgiveness, and Rebecca replies that she will never forgive her. Vuga responds that it does not matter, as she is only doing her job. Lowen tries to defend her, saying that she did nothing, but Rebecca accuses Vuga of bringing death to everyone in the village. She reveals that she saw Vuga accompanying a strange man through the forest, covered in moss and dirt. Lowen asks if it is true, and Vuga tries to deny it, but Rebecca, furious, tells her to stop lying. Lowen asks how she survived all these years, and Rebecca replies that she can only be a witch of the forest, capable of seducing the beast to fulfill her wishes and even her husband. Vuga gets angry and reveals that her husband was the very devil, who had already betrayed Rebecca with many people, including younger girls. She also says that he deserves to be under the ground. Vuga insists that Rebecca knew who he was, and that her judgments are low. Meanwhile, Ewan continues suffering on his way to the village and has to stop again to remove a mushroom from his ear. He manages to reach the village and goes to his house. There, his daughter informs him that the Moss Man took her sister. The girl realizes that something is wrong with her father, and when he begins to walk toward her, she confirms her suspicions. He tells her not to worry, for he will take care of everything. At that moment, he grabs her and begins to hurt her, and he has a more violent demeanor. Lowen arrives at that moment and asks him to let the girl go, but he does not obey. When Vuga arrives, she knocks him out. The next day, we see a father and a pregnant daughter approaching the forest. On the way, the woman begins to feel pain and asks to rest a bit. The man explains to his daughter how they will reach their destination, saying they must get to a line made of yellow flowers. The daughter asks for her father's forgiveness, for she feels that the blame for being there is entirely hers. The father tells her there is nothing to forgive and comforts his daughter. While doing this, he sees the yellow flowers and becomes extremely happy. While praying to thank for that, Alice suddenly appears and asks who he is praying to. He reveals that he was praying to Jesus Christ, and this seems to displease Alice. She turns to the daughter and asks how many months she is, and the father replies that she is already 9 months along. The man asks where Alice comes from, and she responds that she lives in a nearby village. He pleads for her to take them there, and Alice tells them to follow her. As they walk, the pregnant woman finds the place very beautiful, including the flowers. Alice, hearing this, asks if the woman would like to have one, but she declines, saying it is not good to disturb the environment. Alice ignores this and goes to pick one, and soon hands it to the woman. Alice also asks where they are from and why they are there. The man responds that they come from Anderburg 15 days away, and Alice asks if they simply left home. The man seems annoyed by that question and simply replies that it was time to move on. Alice insinuates that the baby is his, and again he reminds her that they are father and daughter. Alice says there will be shelter for them in the village, and the woman thanks her for such kindness, saying they are in her debt. The woman begins to feel pain, and soon they rush to take her. Vuga tells them to hurry, and we notice that the flower Alice gave her falls to the ground. In the village, Vuga prepares to assist with the delivery and asks the man to leave the room. He refuses, saying he will not leave his daughter alone, and Vuga agrees, saying that strong hands would be of good use to stimulate the swollen placenta. The father quickly refuses such an act, saying he will leave everything in Vuga's hands and leaves the room. The pregnant woman asks where the other villagers are, and Vuga responds that they have fallen to the ground. She does not understand very well, and Vuga asks her not to exert herself and to rest. Vuga mentions that her mother used to tell her stories about the town they came from, and reveals that she has never left the village. The young woman asks why Vuga has never left the village, and the woman says her father would never let her. Outside, the young woman's father is praying when Lowen appears and frightens the man. She tells him not to be afraid and introduces herself, and the man does the same, revealing that his name is Ken. Lowen calls Uriel to meet their new friend, but Uriel seems scared and does not approach. Lowen asks Ken to watch the girl while she goes to collect some herbs. The man is so happy with Lowen's presence that he does not even notice Uriel approaching, and he gets startled. Ken tries to talk with her and asks what the girl's favorite flowers are, to which she replies that she does not like flowers. He comments that on the way they found many beautiful ones, and upon mentioning the yellow flowers with black eyes, Uriel shrinks in terror. Ken apologizes and says they will not speak of flowers again. At that moment, Rebecca arrives and asks if Uriel is okay. The man replies that she is, but she insists on asking the girl. The young girl nods affirmatively, and Rebecca leaves the area a bit suspicious. Before leaving, Ken asks where she is taking those ropes, and Rebecca responds that they are for a trap, leaving him suspicious. Ken asks Uriel where the villagers are, and she finally reveals that they have gone into the forest. He comments that it is almost dark and asks when they will return, and at that moment Uriel makes a frightened face, and Ken is knocked out by someone. The young girl hears the impact and asks what happened, but Vuga does not respond, and we discover that the women killed the man, and the young girl sees her father being dragged away. She cries without being able to act, and Rebecca enters covered in blood. The young girl is taken somewhere. During the night, the young girl wakes up tied and screams for help. We discover that she has been used as a sacrifice for the guardian of the forest and pleads for help but receives no response. She panics upon seeing the guardian approach. He uses magic to silence her and does the same as with Uriel's sister, devouring the woman from within and extracting the newborn, leaving the area as she screams. She begs for the baby to be returned, but her calls go unheard. The next day, Vuga wakes up and runs to check on Uriel, and she becomes worried when she does not find her. Uriel appears and says he did not take her, and they celebrate this, but they soon hear a scream. Vuga tells Lowen to take Uriel inside while she finds Rebecca, face to face with the guardian. Vuga asks why he came to the village, and he reveals that he is hungry. Vuga says they fulfilled the deal, but he ignores and continues devouring the village's defenses. Vuga explains that they delivered the baby and did everything he asked, begging him not to break his word. The guardian begins to count, and at that moment, Alice appears and hits him with an arrow. Vuga asks what she has done, and Alice laughs maniacally. Rebecca tries to confront Alice to get the bow back, but Alice knocks her down and runs to the cabin. The guardian devours the last protection of the village. As he disappears into the darkness, Vuga weeps on the ground. The enraged woman grabs the axe, destroys the door of the cabin, and finds several macabre things inside. She sees the girl bathing in blood, and Alice declares that they will all die. She turns to Vuga and takes her own life. The rest of the women arrive and call for Vuga, but she is terrified. Vuga says they must go to the forest, and Lowen asks them to take their things. Vuga goes to her house and grabs an amulet while crying. Uriel is in the cabin packing her things when she hears her father's crying. She decides to visit him one last time. He asks for forgiveness, and Uriel tells him that it's okay. Ewan asks Uriel to free him, saying that he is better now, that his wounds are healing, and that he misses her. Uriel says she will go get their mother, and the father asks her to wait because they need to prepare a surprise for her. The girl agrees, and the rest of the women prepare to leave, but they hear Lowen's crying. They run to help and discover that Uriel is dead, but Vuga says there is no time to mourn. As they turn around, they see that Rebecca is being attacked by Ewan. He runs after them, but the two manage to escape. While they run, Vuga warns that they need to reach the tree line before nightfall. On the way, They stumble, and Lowen gets hurt. She keeps going, but Ewan is on their tail and almost hits her with the axe, saying he is not a monster. He transforms again, giving them time to flee. Ewan strikes the axe into Lowen's back, killing her, while Vuga manages to escape. Ewan grabs his axe and continues after her. We discover that Alice is alive and tries to crawl to the Guardian, who kills her. Ewan catches up to Vuga, stating that her journey ends there for having abandoned her oath. Before killing her, he states that everyone died because of her. As he is about to attack, she uses the medallion and asks for forgiveness. At that moment, Ewan stops attacking, and Vuga takes the axe from his hands, making it fall to the ground. He pleads to leave, but she does not allow it. As he tries to attack her again, he is struck with the axe. Before dying, he thanks her and says he will rest with his family. However, it was feigned, as while Vuga cries, he tries to kill her. The Guardian appears and saves her. In the end, Vuga is forced to become the new shaman of the forest.